have just a few minutes between now and the next panel, and I know that I'm not the really awesome thing, so I'm going to be brief. My job today is to do a quick recap of where we've been and where we're headed. This is really hard because is anyone else from this morning feeling slightly overwhelmed? So many ideas, so many questions, so many fears, so many things that you think you can do to break down barriers when you get back to your desks and your day jobs. Anybody else feeling that way? What a great session so far. I'm going to do a quick run through just with some highlights, and I'm shortening this to get us to our next session. So I'm going to take us back to Secretary Nayer's graph, that We Feel Your Pain graph, and the reason that the Close It Summit is here to think about how we address the skills gap, that gap between job openings and unemployed people. Kudos to those of you in the room from New Mexico Workforce Solutions and all that you and your partners have done to narrow that gap. How awesome was that to hear about this morning? Kudos, let's give you guys a round of applause. That was so great. We heard about the Charles Koch investment in the IMAX film. That's the short of it, to galvanize a national movement around the technician economy, which I know we're getting to next here. But a couple things stood out to me. The fact that we're talking about young people and the needs that they have in an environment like this is great. The fact that we're talking about career awareness, jobs that people don't know they exist, and the jobs are changing so rapidly. So that investment is so exciting. I also loved learning about the IMAX idea from Mr. McGillivray about how do you make things timely and timeless. Let's think about that really for just a couple seconds. In the storytelling theme we kind of heard from this morning's speakers, timely and timeless, and how can we apply that to the work that we're doing? The panel that was Byron, Rachel, and Ellie, again, leaned into young people and working adults and creating opportunity for them. They charged us to make sure the public sector does not get left behind in the investment in AI. They reminded us that there's problems to solve and there's work to be done, and that AI works best when it helps elevate human intentions. Brandon Bastide shared with us this question. If you take 5% of each of your organization's workforce and you hire that many interns, think of the change you can make. Think of the experience stores that you're going to open to young people. Mary Beth reminded us that resilience is a practice. I think we all need that to come back to and charge ahead each day. She also had some ideas about how the questions we ask ourselves matter. At AIR, we often find ourselves asking the question of how might we do something, and working with our partners to say how might we do something rather than how can we do it. There's a human-centeredness to that where you think about opportunity versus execution right away. Dr. Brown then pointed us to the reality that no one owns the system that connects skills, learning, and work across our various systems. There's no one owner. That's why Close It is here. We're all bringing together the seats that we sit in, the places we're most comfortable with, the programs we know, the funding we know, the research we know, the practice we know, and the people we serve and what they need. So how do we break down barriers to become those co-owners across the systems to address skill needs of individuals? So what's ahead? There are so many great sessions. I'm not going to go one by one through them, but I'm going to leave you with a couple of questions to ask as you make your choices about where to go. The first one might not be surprising, since at AIR we talk a lot about helping people turn evidence and data into meaningful action. So your first question when you go to this afternoon's sessions and tomorrow's session is, if I took action on this at home, what information would my student, my learner, my customer, my funder, my boss, my colleagues, what information would I want to be able to tell them that it worked? So I am talking about that data and that evidence under it, but then you get the chance to turn that into storytelling about the experiences of real people whose lives are changed when you do this work. Then that's the second question. How are we helping students, learners, workers today build that resiliency for today's economy? I think in asking that question about how can we make their stories timely and timeless, I think that's what brings it home.